No, I don't want to. I'm gonna have baked beans.
Beans. The more you eat, the more you fart, the more you see, the more you get. Ever heard that?
No, but I can't overtake you and your farting. I would have to eat all the baked beans in the world.
Okay. This is not mine.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's the reason we stopped. You said you wanted a croissant with all the grease in it.
Where are we? Where are we?
What do you mean?
We stopped at a little town somewhere.
We're in Sale.
I'm not sure where that is.
Sale, Victoria.
And because we have to live off instant coffee, I'm actually being blinded by the sun right now, so I'm like, well, we're gonna try the sausage roll. I'm being blinded by the sun, so we're gonna get on the road because we're actually in a we're actually in a tight schedule at the moment. Now I have no hands to get in the van. So we're kind of half rushing back because we need to be back by tomorrow evening. Sausage roll. Picked up, okay. You didn't like that croissant. You went in there looking for an almond croissant. That's like your go-to. He's the culprit of getting me into almond croissants. But they didn't have any croissants. It's a bakery. And instead, I have may you please? I have rice cake on my bum. Ooh. I haven't actually looked in the mirror today, so.
Oh, and you look beautiful as ever.
Gosh, it's hot today. So we have a van that doesn't actually have aircon. So we're in the middle of Australia. It's summer. It's summer.
We just turned the aircon on. We roll down the windows. That's aircon.
So as I was saying, it's 2 days post Spartan Race, and we've been on the road for about, I'll say about 4 or 5 days more. Is it 5 days? I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Yeah, I think it's 4th or 5th day, something like that.
4th or 5th day. Yeah. And you start to feel it. But we actually had a hotel after the Spartan Race, which was the best, wasn't it? We got to sleep in a proper bed.
Yeah. Got
to have a bath and wash my hair and just, yeah, van life sometimes can be rather dirty.
Yeah.
It can, can't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely has its pros.
Definitely has its pros.
Definitely does. But you do have to live off of like really cold tap showers or wipes and just feeling a bit groggy.
It's definitely not as glamorous as they make it out to be. It's
not glamorous, but it has its perks and its freedoms, and like we've traveled 10 hours away from where we are, haven't we? Yeah. 10 hours away to do the Spartan Race and have a bit of a road trip, and it's been great fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you couldn't do...
Like, there's certain foods you can't cook because you don't have an oven. So we kind of have like stuffed pasta, and we make yogurt pots and fruit, and have apples and carrots, and make mince. That's what we kind of go-tos are. Yeah. Yeah. We better get back on the road.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where to go.
Are we not heading back?
No, well, yeah, we're just going to the ACT, that's all.
ACT?
Yeah.
What, Victoria?
Canberra.
Where we are?
Canberra, back in them.
Yeah, we drove from Sydney down south.
Down south?
And we had a little pit stop at Melbourne yesterday. It was literally a quick pit stop because we were on a schedule. It was 2 hours from where we were to Melbourne. I thought, I've never seen Melbourne. You've seen Melbourne before, but you flew in. You didn't drive in because it's 10 hours. Correct. So we've done that like over a number of days. Yeah. Over 2 or 3 days. Yeah. And now we're driving back. But Melbourne was interesting. It's very different to Sydney, I have to say.
It's very quirky. It's very quirky and artsy.
Yeah. Yeah. But we literally just drove through it to see it, and then stopped off at the beach to make some food, and then we headed back and camped the night. So every day we kind of find like new spots to camp. We don't actually have a specific place where we can stop and sleep the night and stuff. We just kind of find them along the way, somewhere that's a bit rural, would you say?
Yeah, all I do is I look on the map and I try and find what looks like a nice spot to stay.
Yeah.
And I think last night we actually found a good spot.
I think we did.
And we woke up next to a lake.
Yeah, so yeah, we woke up to the lake this morning. That was really nice, and there wasn't anyone there. And sometimes when you find a new spot that's like near places like that, because it was quite public, I would say.
Yeah.
Because it had like the public bench and all of that. Sometimes you wake up to people in the morning and you kind of try and hide yourself so they don't look into your van and just see you sleeping there.
Yeah.
So that can be interesting sometimes. We've had that when we slept on the beach. Yeah, haven't we? We just find like loads of vans pulled up next to us, and you just see the people wandering past, having a peek in your van. You're just like tucked up. You're like,
you just give them a smile and a wave.
Just smile and wave. But there's a lot of people that come up to you and say, "Oh my gosh, that's such a cool van."
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. We've got a sausage roll. Okay. Bit crumbly.
Is it good?
It's okay.
I can't believe you don't have any tomato sauce on it. That's not the Australian way.
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna get going.
Let's get going. So in Australia, they have these toilets that go all the way down. They're like naturally decomposing. So there's like no flushing, no anything. But these are like the Portaloo toilets in Australia on the highways and stuff. See if he notices me. I was just talking about your guys' Portaloo's toilets. Do you want this shut?
Yeah. You mean the drop dunnies?
Oh, that's what you call them?
Yeah.
So they like naturally decomposing?
No, those ones there, I think...
Yeah, but it goes into like this big tank.
Yes.
So you don't flush anything.
No. I think those ones there may get pumped out.
But where does it all go? Is there like some special liquid that goes inside the tank which decomposes everyone's...
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it just does itself. Sometimes it just picks it up and some poor dude has to get his truck and pump it out.
No.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's so much more eco-friendly then.
Well, it saves a lot of water.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So what I love about driving around here is that they have these signs. It says droopy eyes or something. Make sure you stop.
Oh.
Like make sure you
only
pull over.
sleep cures fatigue.
I have like these spots on my chin.
Yeah. Well,
What do you say?
It's like one of them is only.
Now
sleep.
you're looking at my spots.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. One of them. One of them says only sleep can cure fatigue, and it has all cool and you know.
Yeah.
Just droopy eyes and something else. We'll find one. Because they don't have those ones in New South Wales. It's a Victorian slogan.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So once we cross the border in an hour, we won't see him anymore.
What do they say about the seatbelt one?
Click, clack, front and back.
What?
You never heard that?
No. That sounds so dirty.
What's dirty about it?
Click, clack, front and back.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have enough snacks here.
You have plenty of snacks.
I don't. Oh, thank you. When no one shares your milk with you. So we've been driving for a couple of hours since I spoke to you guys last, and we've made a little pit stop in this public area. Has a loo and a little rest stop for people driving kind of on the motorway. So I'm just grabbing some snacks. But you know, it's one of those things where you're on the road, so you just pick up quick snacks rather than just making something. It's a good old apple. I literally just drink milk out of the carton all the time now. It's just the go-to thing. Apples and nuts and like carrots are the go-to. So this is what we have in the fridge. We did a little food shop yesterday. Orange juice is our favourite at the moment. Got soyas, got milk, got little dark chocolates and cheese and yogurts, more apples, sausages for the breakfast I couldn't finish yesterday. I've got a little Diet Coke in there too and some frozen berries, but we're trying to cover a lot of hours today driving, so just gonna grab some stuff and then get back on the road.
What are you doing?
Are we there yet?
Have a shake. No, we're not.
Mike drank a bottle of milk and now he can't stop farting. Are you okay? I don't think I'm going to be able to share a bed with you tonight.
That's when you share a bed. Yeah.
So we've just parked up in this place called Canberra. And for some reason everyone keeps parking right next to us because there's like a million other parking spaces. But we're in a very public place at the moment and I really need to pee because we've been on the road for hours. We left when it's daylight and the sun's like gone down, so I wanted to talk to you guys all about Spartan and like what's going on with training and all of that, but I think it's going to be pitch black in about 10 minutes, so I might have to leave that for the morning. But yeah, oh my gosh, I actually feel like living in Oz. I've been definitely getting used to the roads and the road trips and just being in the car for hours and hours, but it's so hard to do anything because you're just driving all the time. But now are we going to stay here the night?
I think so.
I think there's just so many people here because they're watching the sun go down, which has pretty much already gone down.
Yeah.
But we haven't eaten anything proper today, apart from rice crackers. So we're actually going to cook some food now. Yeah, I think we're going to have stuffed pasta. We bought some stuffed pasta last night, so we're just going to have a bit of that. We're going to make our way home tomorrow, so just kind of wrapping things up here. It's another couple of hours drive actually back home, so we're going to set off probably early in the morning. But I really need to pee. And there's lots of people out. It's definitely easier for guys in this situation.
Oh.
Like, we have to fully strip off as females. Do you know what I need to get? I need to get a shiwi.
Yeah, I'll get it.
I should get a shiwi.
Yes.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. Stuffed pasta and a bit of sausage for dinner. It seems like we have so much stuff in here. Every time we cook or do anything, we have to clear all of this bench top, all of this space, so everything just ends up on the bed. And it looks so messy all the time. So Mike has gotten claustrophobic and decided to take himself into a smaller cubicle in the front seats. But he's opened the door, so apparently that counts. Because he can look outside. Say hi! Hi! Someone's decided to put disco music on. Mike.
Oh no, just get on it.
Tuesday night. Hurrying up.
Bush stuff.
Huh? Bush stuff?
You know how to have a bush stuff?
What's a bush stuff?
It's a rave party in the bush.
Woo! Almost knocked it over. Are you checking the battery?
No, we've run out of water in the tank.
Oh no!
The wrong way.
Oh, well, there's bottles in the front.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping this is not going to go on all night. We've made these curtains out of towels. We've used some clips because we don't have any blinds.
Yeah.
Got the fan on. We're heading to bed. Adios, amigos. We'll see you in the morning.
Good night.
I'm on the hunt for the toilet. So we've come to this coffee shop in Canberra, and you have all of these things just to go to the bathroom. I just want to go for a pee. Well, we made it to the bathroom. The thing about van life is that you don't always sleep that great. Well, going for coffee, having a bit of breakfast and sorting some stuff out this morning. Today's the day that we have to head back, so we're just grabbing a little something for breakfast, heading to the gym, and then making our way home back in the van. So much traveling. Quick sesh before hitting the road. Thank you. So if you have like an Anytime Fitness Pass or 24-hour gyms, yeah, it's great if you're in like van life because you can just pop in whenever to have a shower. I haven't even sorted my hair out properly. So quick gym sesh. My legs are still feeling very sore from the running, so I'm just gonna have a light leg sesh today. Here he comes, bringing the goods.
There is a soy for you.
Are we allowed to have 2 coffees? Because it's the second one of the day. Soy latte.
You are more than okay.
Oh my god. Mike, this is so bad. So after the ultra, we just literally shoved everything in, which is why we haven't cleared up yet. Yeah, see. Rice crackers. Oh, this van needs a good old clean.
We're having a little bit of an Instagram break.
I know.
Just having a little bit of a scroll.
You're getting caught in the scroll.
Yeah, take my mind off the drive.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I'm about to go get chocolate milk, so...
Chocolate milk now?
Yeah, I've decided it's going to be a chocolate milk.
Have you?
I'm going to get chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk.
Yeah.
You always shorten every word.
Yeah.
Rego. Is it Rego?
Rego.
Arvo. Arvo avocado. Brekkie for breakfast.
Yeah. What else? Yui.
Chocky. Do a Yui. Do a U-turn.
Do a U-turn. Do a Yui. What else do we have? A sanger for a sandwich.
What? Sanger.
Yes.
A sanger. How is that shortened from a sandwich?
Sausage sanger.
That sounds so bad.
You know what a sausage sanger?
No.
I like to say Tomoz.
Tomoz.
Yeah.
Am I Aussie yet?
You are very Aussie.
Really?
No. If you're Aussie, if you're Aussie girl, you would sound more Aussie.
That makes
I didn't
sense.
I didn't want to say what I was going to say.
So what Mike said is that if I start to sound Australian, he's going to take me back to the UK.
Yeah.
This is the pee break number 100. It's actually quite funny because every stop that we've stopped at, so this is the stop. It's really cool because they have loads of different loos, and you've got the caravan park. You've got loads of places like this where you have good toilets and parking to have a break and kind of half freshen up, I'd say. And we stopped here last time. This is the second stop that we've stopped at where we stopped. How many stops can I say in one word?
You mean sentence?
Yeah. That we did last time on the way here. Somehow we've just stopped at.
Coincidentally,
yeah,
it's been time to stop at the same spots.
Yeah. I haven't brushed my hair yet. This is camper van life. I haven't brushed my hair.
Yeah.
You haven't brushed your hair.
Well, I'm struggling to grow the hair.
Back home, finally. Oh my gosh, my back actually feels in pieces. Hi. So, this bed is super squeaky, so I'm actually going to try and sit still. So I'm finally getting around to just sitting down and talking to you guys about everything that has gone on within the past few days. So we headed down all the way down south, so it was like over a 10-hour drive, and we wanted to kind of enjoy it and make a bit of a road trip out of it, so we just did it over a number of days. And yeah, it was super cool. He hadn't been down that kind of area down south before, and it was something new for me too, so it was really exciting. And we got to stay at all sorts of different places. Funny enough, on the way back we also stayed in the same places because it was just along the way and convenient. So we broke it up over a number of days before the race, which was on Sunday. And yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind because campervan life can be a bit tiring sometimes, just constantly driving and being on the road. Like, even though we broke it up over a number of days, it still was like 5 or 6 hours of just driving, living off of rice crackers and liters of milk. I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about how the race went and, you know, all of that, because you guys have asked me a couple of questions on Instagram, like how it all went and all of that, so I thought it'd be easy just to make a video for you guys. So the night before, I'd never done a Spartan race before, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. We had booked it as like a fun obstacle course, just something to do, something to aim towards fitness wise. And yeah, because I hadn't done one before, didn't really know what to expect. But we saw a new place to go, so we went to Gippsland in Mount Borbor, which mountains and all of that, and I was like, I love mountains, so let's do that. And we booked that quite a while ago, but because of what I had made a video about before, not too long ago, the quick rush back to the UK because of family, there was a couple of weeks of little to no training. And so when we got back to Australia, I was kind of like, I don't know if it's a good idea to do it. Just having all that time off of not training, just things being in the air. Like, training was not a priority at that point, family was. And so it was kind of like, okay, well, let's just take it by ear and see how things go. So did a little bit of running in terms of training wise, a bit of gym work, and that was for like a week or two, and then it was race day. So yeah, it was like kind of rushed. It was a rushed trip, kind of a last minute decision that we were just going to head down there and give it our best shot kind of thing. Yeah, but the night before, I had found out that my family member who I had gone to UK to see had passed away. So it was a bit like, I didn't really want to do it anymore. I didn't feel like I was in this mindset. It was so great just heading down there and enjoying the road trip and seeing a new part of Australia and all of that, but just to hear that news the night before just kind of threw me off, and it made me not want to do it, because I was like, you know, if you do an event, it should be for enjoyment, because you want to do it for enjoying it, and that just wasn't it for me anymore. So yeah, it was kind of a decision, like, we were there, so I just was gonna do it and make the most of it. So race day came, and to be honest, I wasn't excited for it. I was just there because we were there, and we signed up, we had all this stuff, like had to get last minute bits, like last minute running socks and food for along the way. And Mike, who was doing it with me, actually had an injury which prevented him from being able to run at all. And so when it came to race day, I was like, okay, just see how things go and just take things from there. Like, don't expect anything. You're going into this race injured. It's already probably not the best idea you doing it, but just, you know, walk and fast walk and just enjoy it and do what you can. We signed up, all registered. You had to put like this little box into this area, so when you transition onto the second lap of the race, you have your fuel and spare clothes, anything you kind of wanted to put into this box. So we put like extra food and extra clothing in there and chafing balm and things like that into the box. That's pretty much what I had to do for all of my ultras. But I have definitely noticed that being in Australia, the ultras are slightly different, but I was very used to certain things. So in the ultras in the UK, the events that I had done, it was, they provide the nutrients for you. You can of course bring your own things, but you always know that you have food if you run out, or you have water and you have coffee. It's more of a provided kind of ultra, but this one, it's, you just provided with water, and that was it. So yeah, had those things to prepare for. So I strapped up my ITB bands. Starting the race, I just kind of had this mindset of, you hadn't done any training, so just take it slow and steady. We went into it not knowing what the course was going to be like, or what the elevation, the obstacles. Mike had done a short Spartan before, quite a few years back, so he kind of had an idea of what the obstacles could be like, but it was one of those really short 5k ones. But this was the ultra, and yeah, unfortunately we got 5k's in. We were literally just walking the whole way, and he went up this hill and went down, and his ITB band, funny enough, he has the same kind of injury as me. The start of it was an 8k lap, and then we had 2 loops of 21k. Well, that's what we thought, but I'll get back onto that. I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, what do we do? I thought of us as a team doing it together. For him to be injured, I was like, okay, well, I don't think it's gonna kind of hold up for the next 40 plus k. So sadly, he ended up having to leave the race, and I thought, okay, what do I do? I feel really bad because we were supposed to do this together, and now he isn't able to do it. So I was kind of in this mind of like, do I just leave or do I carry on? And he was like, just go, just do it, give it your best shot. And I was like, okay. So it was actually really hard just leaving. I felt like in a way I was abandoning him, and it was kind of a horrible feeling. But yeah, I did go ahead, and at that point, because we had to go quite slow because of the injury, I was almost at the back. I think there was like 2 people behind me, or 1 person behind me. So I was like, okay, I've got to try and gain some ground here. And I didn't think of this as a race, but I like just giving it my best shot. And for all of my ultras, I've always had the same approach of just taking it slow and steady, because it's all about preserving as much energy as possible and just seeing how the body goes, especially when you're entering a race that you don't know what it's going to be like. It's just trying to prevent injury and preserving energy as much as possible. So if you get towards the end and you have more to give, then you can give it and empty your tank kind of that way. So that's exactly what I used, and I was kind of like, okay, well, you know, there was no poles allowed in this, so there was a lot more pressure going to be onto the legs and ITB band. There was a lot of elevation, which I kind of knew beforehand, because the day before I had gone onto one of the Facebook pages and seen the 21k lap, And because we were doing 50, I kind of knew in a way that we would be doing that lap, and the elevation was like 1,000 plus. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Hadn't done any elevation work at all, literally just done a few flat runs, maximum 24k once. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. And yeah, it honestly felt like this the whole way, just going up and downhill, up, down, like this the whole way. And it was so battering on the legs. My nutrition that I bought, it was like these little health balls. They're like little carby balls with some sort of spread, I think it was like peanut butter inside, and I thought they would be really good and carby, because the nutrients that I wanted and just the foods that I was trying to consume along the way were carby, just have that energy to go that kind of distance and also have the strength to go over the obstacles. Because this wasn't just a ultra. I knew it was going to be 50k, but honestly had no clue what it was going to be like in terms of ascent and just what the obstacles were going to be like. I'm honestly the biggest person on being afraid of heights, and yeah, it definitely challenged in terms of that way. So you had like all sorts of obstacles going all the way up at this height, and the people that I was running with, because there was different kinds of events going on within the day, you had certain people from different groups on the route as well. But because we were doing ultra, we had to wear this purple Spartan ultra vest, and everyone had to wear a headband with their number and a little time tag which I put on my shoe. So all of that, and I just had like these health balls, and I bought some apples. I put electrolytes in water, so you had to bring a 1 litre water pack with you as well. So I wore the running vest and just kind of ate that along the way. I didn't want to bring absolutely everything with me, because the more things that you bring, the more weight you have to carry, the more things that you have to carry over the obstacles and all of that. So I was kind of thinking, okay, well, just putting enough food in there to last you until the halfway mark, like the transition part where you could get to your box of your stuff again. It definitely took me a lot longer to get to the second part of the route. So we had to do the 8k, and then you had to do another 21k, which was the loop, and that's when the obstacles started. So after the 21k, I was thinking, oh my gosh, it was literally just up, down, up, down, up, down. And it was just so exhausting. I had run out of food, so I was so fatigued and tired, and the cramps are starting. And I was like, okay, well, it actually ended up being 23k for that one loop. So by the time I got to transition, it was already something like 31k done. And because you had to do the second loop again, everyone who was on the loop, there's a lot of people who had actually done Spartan races before, so it was quite interesting hearing their experiences. And there was one female who had done so many ultras. She's gone to all sorts of different parts of the country. She had actually come from America to do this race, so it was just so interesting the amount of people that are there. And yeah, they come from all sorts of different places, all sorts of different backgrounds, and it really felt like a community vibe. We were all just joining together and getting each other through it. The obstacles were honestly, I could definitely say height played a good part in this, because it was high and you had to run and jump up to the wall and grab and pull yourself up. It took a lot of strength, a lot of energy to get over a lot of those walls. But yeah, so by the time I got to the transition part, 31 odd k had passed, and at this point I was just so fed up, so fatigued. I was just thinking about my family member who'd passed away at that point. And that's kind of all I was thinking about. I wasn't enjoying the race. I wasn't enjoying it. I was just thinking, why am I doing it if I'm not enjoying it? And so it was really nice to see Mike there. And by that point, because it took so long to do that 8k with him, and because it took longer to do the rest of the loop, you need to be at the transition part, the halfway mark, within a certain time. And I literally had 15 minutes to get there, to sort myself out and go. I was like to him, I don't actually think I want to do this anymore. And he said to me, you know, he was really supportive and really kind about it. He was like, well, you know, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. And one of the guys that I was doing the ultra with, he came because his box was right next to mine, which was kind of like, oh, hi. and he grabbed his stuff because he wasn't that far ahead of me, and he was just leaving the transition part. He was grabbing a few of his gels and electrolytes and energy gels, and he also bought little balls, energy ball kind of things. And he was like, okay, well, you know, you're not doing it? And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I'm really not enjoying it. I'm just over it. That's what I was thinking. I was just over it and not wanting to do it. And I just, kind of this disappointing feeling came across me, because I knew that I had more to give, but just the mindset wasn't there. So he left. He was like, you know, oh, that's okay. Well, he said, you know, if you do decide to do it, just grab some things from my box. Like, I have food and I have energy gels and things to help along the way, kind of thing. And I saw him leave, and a few of the other people who were doing the ultra, because at this point, the transition point, it was just the ultras who were carrying on doing the last loop, and they were all leaving. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to do it. I have to do it. So I just quickly threw in some bananas. Very kindly, I took some of an energy gel of his and a little ball. Didn't have time to fill up the water. At that point, I was bursting for the toilet, but I didn't even have time to go to the toilet. So I just grabbed everything. I'm like, I'm going. Adios, I'm going. And yeah, I just left. At that point, it was like no turning back. At that point, the body was definitely feeling it. It was not quite, it was like over 1500. It was about 1500 of elevation at that point, and we had to redo the whole lap again. So in a way it's great because you know what to expect, but in a way it's not, because you know what to expect. So the second route, we had the same obstacle. So you have the sandbag where you have to pull up the sandbag, and then you have to carrying the round sandbag. There was a big ball carry. There was like frames that you have to climb up. There was walls of different sizes. Jerry can carrying. Yeah. So we had to do all of those again, and we kind of knew what was coming. At this point, people were feeling it, and I just felt this huge community come together. Just everyone who's doing the ultras, they were saying, you know, come on, you can do it. You know, people who were struggling, they would lift them up, and it felt so good to be a part of that. The volunteers there were amazing. There was actually a young boy who was there. I'm not sure how old he was, but he was very young, and he was being one of the volunteers for one of the obstacles. And just, you know, it was that kind of environment, just environment which makes you feel good and so excited to be a part of. So the time after that just went so slowly. It was just hours and hours of pure grind, and literally hill after hill, and it was getting up to the last 10k, and I just had to dig deep. I've noticed for all of my ultras that when it gets to a certain point of this route, just it feels so weird, but just everything blanks out, and I just like one mind going one foot in front of the other. And there's actually the things that I tell myself, just one foot in front of the other, you know, it's easy, just keep going, and think of the feeling of how you're going to feel afterwards. That's kind of the things that keeps me going. But again, because it took so long for me to get up and down these hills, there was also another guy who was with me at this point heading towards the end, and we just ended up kind of sticking together because we were at the same pace. And yeah, ran out of food, so I was absolutely starving. Energy was low. The cramping and nausea was horrific. But at the end, so also at the end of the first loop, there was this huge hill that you have to go down, all the way down, literally hit the bottom. You have to go through this net, get to the other end, and then go all the way back up again. And it's just it's a bit of a killer, but that is like the mark of knowing that you're pretty much at the end. So heading up that last long incline, then there was another incline when you got to that top wall that you had to jump over, and then all the way down to the finish mark. So it took a long time to finish. It took a good old 12 hours to finish, and yeah, I definitely felt it, Oh my gosh. But the feeling towards the end, the people that I had raced with and a few of the volunteers who were at the obstacles along the way, they were at the bottom at the finish mark, and they cheered me on while I was coming down the hill, and they gave me my medal and just kind of said, you know, we just kind of congratulated each other with how well we did, because it was just, it ended up being 56k with almost 3,000 meters of elevation. Something which I had not planned for or trained for at all, so it definitely felt good to finish. And yeah, really amazing with all the people that you meet at these kind of events. It's just, it feels very special. So that was what happened during the Spartan race. Yeah, maybe ask me a few more days if I'll do another one at the moment. But we're just in this recovery phase at the moment. So today's workout was the first session since being back. This is 2 days, 2 full rest days, and this is the 3rd day post race. And to be honest, it feeling good. I'm actually really glad with how the body held, considering. And yeah, just taking things easy and fully recovering before getting completely back into training. But I did ask you guys if you had a few questions about the whole race, and one of the questions was, did you train for the event? So I did, which I kind of briefly discussed at the beginning. I did a bit of training. It was about 2 weeks of more running, just increasing volume of running, increasing, it was like 10, 15 Ks, 20 Ks, 24K, just slowly building on the distance and the pace, and doing a bit of long distance, short distance, but a little bit faster, and then interval training. So I kind of mixed things up in terms of training for that. I also did a little bit of gym sessions as well, but the main focus was, because it was such a short period of time, was just about running. But normally when I train for these kind of ultra events, I never really feel like I go into them feeling like I've trained really hard and for a long period of time and I feel really prepared. I always kind of feel like I've trained for a few weeks and I'm just gonna see how things go. But the thing is, the things that I consider when going into the ultras, you know, you can have the strongest mindset, but if your body doesn't hold up, it's, you know, it's very hard to finish. So that's something that I definitely consider. And I find that I hit a wall, and from there, you know that you have to dig deep, and it's a lot of mindset and just remaining as resilient as possible. So the second question is, what foods do you have along the way? So I had these little health balls, I bought bananas, I bought apples. For these kind of events, I found it quite difficult to find what to have because it was all like last minute. But the foods that I had for my previous ultras, I couldn't find them in this country. So I was just bringing these little health balls because they were carby and sugary, and my approach was to eat 250 calories every hour, mostly carbs. But that's something I could not do because I ran out of food, and yeah, all of that. Definitely a few lessons learned, but yeah, I always find it very difficult to eat bananas and things like that. I also brought protein bars, which I put in my pocket and I had on the second loop and the final loop. But it took so long to eat because when you're constantly moving for hours and hours and hours, you're not hungry. You're just consuming so much water, but because you're sweating so much, it's quite hard to keep making sure that you're fully hydrated. But I always find that I don't want to eat these things that I kind of learned as well, like just eating little kind of snacks along the way that are lightweight, but trying to eat things that are more calorific. I also brought dried fruit because they're sugary and instant carbs. I also found them quite hard to eat because all of these things, like carby things that I had, were quite sugary. But anyway, those kind of things, I did find having apples really handy. Next time I would change my nutrition slightly, which I'll talk to you guys about in a second. So the third question is, what made you want to do another ultra? Well, I've always kind of had Spartan on my mind. It looked really fun and exciting, and the obstacles. And I just, when I booked it, I was like, hey, you know, why don't we just do an ultra? Just go hard, go home kind of thing. And so it's actually kind of crazy, because I find that once I've finished an ultra, that pain and that kind of, all those hard feelings that you felt just kind of disappear, and the things that remain are the joy and the excitement and the community and how good you feel once you finish, and just that accomplishment feeling is what kind of makes me want to do another one. Like, even on the track I was like, why am I doing this, why am I doing this? And now I'm sitting here thinking, what next ultra can I do? It's just kind of weird, but that's kind of what I find, that just all the negative feelings go, and you're just left with all these positive feelings, that it does make you want to do other ultras and just do bigger things. So the fourth question is, what pushes you through when you want to quit? I feel like I have covered a fair amount of these questions in what I kind of spoke to you about before, but just to go into a little bit more depth, because I found out my family member, my nana, had passed away the night before, she was on my mind, and in a way it kind of hindered my performance, because it made me not want to do it, but on the other side it pushed me to do it. And I thought, you know, I'm doing it, I'm gonna give it everything that I have. And when I do the ultras, I always think, well, you have more to give, you have more to give, you're still going, your body's still moving, you have more, keep going. Those are the words that I use, especially when you're getting towards the end, when you're getting towards like the 20k mark, you have 20k left, it's like you have, you know, keep going, like you're almost there, that kind of pushing feeling, just one foot in front of the other, keep going, just having those positive, encouraging mind, but also that resilient of not allowing yourself to quit. Saying that, I do have this thing in my mind that I'm always listening to my body, and I haven't yet come to that point where the body has just felt so broken I can't possibly go on. Things hurt, and it's very normal for things to hurt when you're going that distance, and so you just keep going. You expect those things, especially when you've done an ultra already. You know the feelings that come, and the points where you do hit the wall. You get to know yourself a lot more in those situations, so you know what to prepare for in a way. And yeah, just remaining resilient and keeping encouraging words, those are the kind of things that I do, and it just keeps me going to the end. So how do you feel post ultra? I feel good, considering. Been sitting in a van for 2 days, hours on end. Probably hasn't been the best, because muscles are already tight, already a bit sore and achy, fatigued, so just sitting down for hours isn't great. But now I'm back home, I'll definitely be focusing on rehab, recovery, icing the ITB band, stretching, really looking after the body so things recover well and I can get back to running and back to gym work again. So today, I definitely couldn't go heavy today. There were a few things that I had to miss out of my workout because it was just aggravating my ITB band and my legs were just feeling too fatigued. Today wasn't a day for hitting BBs or pushing. It was just about getting the body moving again and getting a bit of weight and just really enjoying the workout and moving. So yes, after lifting and even walking up the stairs in that Anytime Fitness, I can feel the fatigued legs there. But yeah, just gonna take training easy for the next week, making sure that recovery is the most important thing. Also being in the van, eating rice crackers, all of that snacky kind of thing isn't the best. So getting really good nutrients back in the body and refueling well, all of that. And I'm sure things will be feeling good by next week. So the next question, the last question is, what is your next challenge? I feel like every time you do something, it's always what's next. But right now, I'm just soaking in the good feelings of doing an ultra, and I already have a few things in mind that I want to do. But with me, I just want to do so many things, and because there's so different goals, I can't always focus on them all. You have to pick one or the other, and I find that really difficult, just choosing between a few. So there's one thing, I'm not going to name them just yet because I haven't decided which one's going to come first, but there's one that's more performance based and one that isn't so much performance based. So I love doing things which is more performance. So it's kind of a hard decision at the moment, but right now I'm just going to focus on, especially after having a good few weeks off of training because of going to the UK and all of that, just focusing on getting back into the gym, rebuilding strength and building a bit of muscle and increasing the distance and running, all of that. I can see my camera is about to die, so better wrap this up pretty quickly. But yeah, just focusing on all of that before thinking about the next goal. But I hope that answers some of your questions. To wrap this up, I hope you guys are having a good week. My camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna say love and leave you. See you guys soon.